you're all set.
All right, thank you, thank you. All right, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the August 16th, 2022 meeting of the Orange Town Plan and Zoning Commission. I am Commissioner Ozzie Parenti. Let's begin by introducing ourselves, please.
Jeremy Trantalis, Administrative Assistant.
Tom Tarenti.
Paul Kaplan.
Kevin Cornell.
Judy Smith.
Jack Demerjen, Zoning Administrator.
All right, good, thank you. First item on our agenda this evening is a review of the minutes from the August 2nd, 2022 meeting. They were in our packets. Has everyone had a chance to look those over?
I don't have anything else.
Okay, Tom, neither do I. Anybody else? Judy, Kevin?
That looked good.
That was Kevin.
Oh, Kevin, I'm sorry, you weren't here, okay. All right. Then let's get a motion to approve the minutes, please.
So
I make
moved.
the motion to approve the August 2nd minutes as presented.
It's been seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right, and Kevin abstains. Okay. Very good. All right, next item on the agenda is old business. Does anyone have anything under that topic that they wish to bring up? How about under the topic of new business? Okay. Item number 4 is a report of the zoning enforcement officer. Jack, do you have anything for us tonight?
I really don't have anything new. I know last meeting I mentioned that at our next meeting, we will have a text amendment application in front of us for cannabis retailers coming in. Other than that, I don't have anything.
Refresh my memory.
We have a one-year moratorium?
We installed a one-year moratorium,
Right.
and this application is coming in to essentially delete the moratorium.
Moratorium runs to November 5th, I think, right?
Correct.
So we have a little time left on that. All right, if that's it, Jack, no questions for Jack? Okay. All right, the last item on our agenda tonight is our public hearing. It's on a site plan application submitted by Stellato Realty LLC, and this is for 403 Derby Avenue. And the site plan application is to add 31 additional parking spaces, assorted tables for outdoor seating, and widening the entrance lane for easier access to the property. Paul, would you like to start us off by reading the legal notice?
To appear one time on Thursday, August 4th, 2022, and one time on Thursday, August 11th, 2022, the Orange Town Plan Zoning Commission notice of public hearing. Notice is hereby given that on Tuesday, August 16th, 2022, at 7 p.m. at the Orange Town Hall, 617 Orange Center Road, the Orange Town Plan and Zoning Commission will conduct a public hearing on the following. Site plan application for the property known as 403 Derby Avenue submitted by Stellato Realty LLC to add 31 additional parking spaces, assorted tables for outdoor seating, and widening the entrance lane for easier access to the property. A copy of this notice has been filed with the Orange Town Clerk. Additional information is on file in Orange Zoning Department, dated in Orange, Connecticut, this 3rd day of August, 2022.
Okay, thank you, Paul. Is the applicant present?
Yes.
There's 3 microphones here. Are one of them working? Is one of them working?
We're all working.
They're all working. Wonderful. Okay. Good evening. Good evening. My name is Joe Porto. I practice law with Brett Porto, Parisi, and Caldwell. Our office is located in Hamden. We represent Stellato Realty LLC, which is the applicant for the application that's before you for the Stoppa Winery, which is located at 403 Derby Avenue. By way of some quick background, the site is 10 acres in size, and it falls in a residential zone, and as mentioned, is the present home of Stoppa Farm Winery, which this commission will recall, I believe in February of 2019, considered and approved a regulation amendment to allow for a farm winery, and then I believe in July of the same year, 2019, approved by way of special exception the application to permit the use that is presently occurring. Then, in 2020, in the spring, COVID hit, and the farm winery became a popular destination for people in town, most likely because it afforded people the opportunity to still get together, but in an open environment where social distancing rules that were in effect at the time were allowed to be followed, and people felt comfortable in terms of being able to gather in an open air environment. In 2021, a public act was passed allowing outdoor dining as an accessory use for a food establishment, and STAPA has a Class II food establishment permit. And then, of course, outdoor dining is permitted as a matter of right, subject to administrative site plan review, and that is, I believe, in your regulations as of June of 2022, and that administrative site plan review is what brings us before you this evening. So, this is the site plan, and we're using a PowerPoint instead of the boards, which I think gives everybody, including the people at home, a better opportunity to see and understand it. Alan Shepard is here, and he will go through this site plan in greater detail, but just in terms of a high-level overview. The site plan has an improved intersection between our driveway and Route 34 Derby Avenue. The site plan calls out a complete prohibition on parking in the driveway or anywhere along Derby Avenue. The site plan creates a total of 72 parking spaces, and those are comprised generally of, I think, 22 that are here. I'll have to check my notes once more, and 45 that are here in this area of the site, and then another 5 up here. It provides for light poles, and these are shown. You can see the I don't know what that's called, the character for the light poles, and I believe that there's 8 of them in the that will illuminate the parking areas. There will be a total of 21 outdoor tables, and they're generally shown here on the site plan. And the site plan contemplates construction of a 665 square foot pergola. This is not for patron use. This is exclusively covered area for the production of wine, so it can be done in inclement weather like rain. So it's just some covered space for work. It does not increase any of the tasting room. It is not for patrons. There will not be seating in there. It is exclusively a work area. So with regard to the parking, again, there is 22. My memory was correct. We have the 45 that are here and the 5 up here. And Alan will tell you that there's 8 kind of reserved parking spaces. It's not anticipated that they will be needed, but if there were some overflow parking, it could be accommodated on the site. I would like to point out for the Commission's benefit that STAPA employs an individual who manages parking in this area, so people will be able to be directed to be parked in an organized way to maximize parking area. People will just not pull in and park as they see fit, taking up more than one space, which does happen in some places.
Can I ask a question?
Oh, of
Joe?
course, yeah, of course.
On the parking, I know the site plan calls for practically doubling the available parking. From 40, what was it, 42
41 to 72.
41 to 72.
Yeah.
What's the standard?
Well,
Or,
that's a good question. I had the opportunity to talk to
not
the
that I'm worried that you're not complying,
right.
you
So
don't have enough parking, but.
it is a good question. It's a good question, Mr. Chairman. And I had an opportunity to discuss this with the town planner just this afternoon because we were wondering the same thing. So from our analysis, it could be one of two directions, okay? It could be subject to the discretion of the commission, or
You're good, thanks. I was just making sure we can all go by that, turn on that limit.
Okay. I don't have to start again, though, right? Good,
Go back
okay.
out to your car.
Thank you. Subject to the commissioner discretion, or it would fall under the criteria essentially for hospitality and most likely a restaurant. So I think under the regulation, do you have another, you were going to
No,
say
I think
something?
that, I think that's right.
Yeah.
I think it's, I forget subsection
Right.
M or G.
Subsection G, restaurants and other food or beverage service establishments, which certainly applies to what we're looking at here, is 10 spaces per 1,000 square feet of gross floor area. We're dealing with about 1,500 square feet.
Right, so, you know,
It's
so.
not even close.
So that would be about 12 parking spaces, we were thinking. So we are immensely overparked. Our parking needs are the result of the fact that the use is very popular. That's really what it comes down to. People like coming here. So we are not in a set of circumstances where we need a variance, like we don't have enough parking. I think we're overparked, and we're trying to provide the opportunity for people to come and experience this opportunity.
Right. You agree with that?
I do, yes.
Okay. Go ahead.
Okay, well, I'm almost done anyway. All right, so we talked about the light poles, which you can see called out in areas of our parking, all downward facing, compliant in all manners with the regulations, and a whole lighting supplement has been filed. I have those plans too, should the commission wish to see those, but you should have them in your packets. With regard to the tables, just a real quick 2 seconds on the tables. We are proposing the following series of tables. We have 7 of them. There's a total of 21, okay? We are proposing a total of 21, broken down as follows. 7 will be for parties of 5, okay? 6 will be for parties of 4, and 8 will be for parties of 2. So if one were to do that math, and all tables were to be occupied at one time, it would be up to a total of 75 people. So with that is really all the comments I wanted to make at this point. I'd like to have Alan Shepard come up, and he can go through the site plan a little bit closer. Alan, you can scroll through the plan with this device right here, so it's got your the intersections that you may wish to speak about. It's just the arrows, the tab arrows left and right. And of course, we'll be here, and Miss Alexa Charles is here to answer any questions the commission may have.
Hello, everybody. For the record, it's Alan Shepard, professional engineer. Yep. And partner in the firm of Nowakowski, Obim John Kane, 415 Howe Avenue, Shelton, Connecticut. So, basically, from this site plan point of view, we took a look at it when they were saying they were going to do the outdoor seating. We took a look at the septic area. For those of you that've been around for a while, know that that was refractory for the church. We had a large septic system up there, so the septic can handle the additional flows that we could have for the outdoor seating. I looked at the entranceway. I want a little bit better entranceway so we can get trucks in. You know, it's just a turning radius thing. So we went to the state and got the approval to widen the entrance a little bit. That's conditioned, of course, we get the approval for this outdoor seating. So we went to the state of Connecticut for that. And then for the parking lot, we broke up the parking lot, so we have the main gravelled area where you see right now that you guys know where it is. And then we put some in back where the old pool used to be, to break it up a little bit. And then where eventually we'll have a house up and back, that driveway goes up and back, we'll put some extra parking up there. So as it was presented, we have 10 acres of land. We have enough land for parking. I think I showed.
I'm sorry, I got interrupted. What did you say with regard to the rear?
Oh, eventually they'll put their house up and back.
And where will they be exiting to?
The top,
Off-screen.
that will be, see the driveway that we got going around the back of the barn building? That will be,
There's a pointer.
oh, yeah.
There you go.
Ah, there you go.
So see that right there?
Yeah.
The house will be up and back up in here. So someday in the future, they'll have the house up there.
But will the
Subject
patrons
to-
be able to access that back area?
Yes, yes. So that, it'll be along the driveway up to the back. We'll make it wide enough so they, it'll be continuation. The reason why we put the parking over here is to break it up a little bit so we have parking in different spots to keep the rural kind of look to the property. And then, so this will be a driveway anyway up to the back to the house. And for the meantime, if they need extra parking, they can pull off.
Where are the residential neighbors to the,
There's a residential house here, and there's a residential house up here. There's some along the backside over here, which you can see the back here. So we're generally, our seating area is over here, which is pretty buffered by, the winery property, and these are up and back over there.
okay, thank you, sir.
And you said
And-
eventually there'll be a house up and back
Up
with
on
more
top of it.
parking?
They'll have their adequate two-car parking.
Okay, just the housing for the residents.
Yeah,
of
it's
the
just the
house.
housing for the Landinos,
Subject to our future consideration.
yeah. But
But you don't anticipate the patrons of the winery
Oh,
parking
no,
up there?
no,
Yeah.
no, just the family. When Pete slows down, he'll, this will be his hobby.
What's the life? Alan, what's the nature of the buffer, the plantings along the,
Well, right in here,
On the
we have the
boundary.
wine stocks, they get pretty thick in the summertime, so they're pretty dense, Obviously, in the winter, they wouldn't have outdoor seating, I don't suspect in winter. So that's pretty good. We have buffer trees right up through here, along the property line. And this is kind of down in the valley here. So there's a ridge line up there, that's it's a church property, if you will, up on top of the hill. But you can't see down in here. And then, it's wooded up and back over here.
so can you see those houses from the property?
Not very well, no. I mean, you can kind of look through if it's wintertime, but they're
Yeah.
not, I don't want to say you can't see them.
To the northwest, in
Yeah,
the north?
yeah. So up in here, they're not directly, there's some wooded area down over here.
What about on the eastern?
There's no houses over here.
Okay.
And the only house over there, Landino's own that house, and it's up over the bridge again. And there are some houses that are proposed for over here. That subdivision got approved years ago. But they're over the ridge too, so you won't see them directly.
Mr. Shepherd, is any of the parking area taking any of the vine growing areas out of service?
Right now, they had a couple grapevines over here that they will remove a couple of them. I think they may be already removed, because I think in anticipation, Pete moved some things around.
The regulation requires 50% of the lot be covered in the cultivation of grapes. Do you have any calculation on that?
We have, I'm sure it's more, but we have grapes all the way up on the hillside, all the way on the downhill side. I'm sure that our coverage is pretty good. There's a lot of grapes out there. I think they.
All right. The regulation also has very specific widths for the drive aisles because as originally contemplated, this was going to be a very slow intensity use. It says that a two-way drive aisle is going to be 18 feet. You're showing 20 and 24.
Yeah, we
Are
had
you
talked,
requesting relief from that part of the regulation?
excuse me, what is that again?
The regulation, as written, says two-way drive aisles for a farm winery are 18 feet wide in drive aisles and parking.
Yeah,
You're asking for 20 and 24 feet. Are you asking for relief from that part of the section?
I thought, my impression was, if you take a look at the plans, the fire strip on the side, the no parking fire strip on the side satisfied that for the fire marshal.
Are they, Kevin, do you think they're saying that they've provided a greater width than the regulations require, and for that reason they comply?
I'm saying the regulations, I believe, had a very specific,
It's on page 2.
Say not more than 18 feet?
It says maybe. It says, let me get to the microphone. Driveway for the farm winery may be 9 feet for one-way traffic and 18 for two-way traffic at all parking angles. It doesn't say that it cannot exceed it, and I think if you were to go below that,
Yeah, well-
I think maybe one might require relief from the regulation, but to provide more, I don't think would require variance, at least not to my knowledge. And one other point that was brought up, and I may be reading this incorrectly, but I do not believe the existing regulation requires that 50% of the site be covered in grapes. I think what it says is that they have to they cannot bring in fruit beyond 50% of what they produce on site, which they do not do.
that is also a requirement, sir, but in section A, it says, minimum lot area, 10 acres, of which not less than 50% of lot area shall be dedicated to the cultivation of grapes.
Right, dedicated, but I don't know that it means it has to have actual plants on it. I just don't think you can use, it has to be 50% air, either open space or area that's being, growing vines presently. So we have 10 acres, so there has to be at least 5 that's available for cultivation, as I understand it.
Joe, you don't read that as saying that it's got to be used for the cultivation? You think the word dedicated means that it just has to be open?
I think it can't be used for something other than that. So I don't believe they have to have
Understood.
all of that actively growing. And, I could try to get back to the commission with the math on it. If our engineer believes that we have 5 acres, I mean, to me, 5 acres seems like a lot of vines, but if we do, we do. But I don't think we could be using it for something else.
Well, we wrote the regulation for the most part, so what did we
Right.
intend?
I'll be damned if I remember.
Well, it may have been that at the time we wrote the regulations, that the extent of the vineyard wasn't there yet,
Right, but I don't
and so it's progressed.
I don't think that we would have parsed it out to say that they just had to be open space, ready to use for the cultivation of grapes. I would have thought, at least my recollection would have been, that they would have used for the growing of grapes. For example, if there was no grapes that were grown,
Yeah.
would
Joe's proposition still hold?
Well, it
Would that satisfy A?
It would run afoul of other parts of the regulation, but I understand your point.
Well, if you showed on a site plan 50% of the parcel dedicated to the cultivation of grapes, I think you'd satisfy the requirement.
Yeah.
I think you would. That's
Yeah, that's the way I read
That's what
it.
it says.
That's what I'm saying.
10%.
Okay.
Yeah. It's unanimous.
So I just got just to finish this off, I was told by the owner, 8 acres have been planted.
And our aisle width will be 24 feet for our parking. The flow-through aisles and stuff like that will be 24 feet. On the main coming up and down, the fire marshal had us put a fire lane in
Yeah.
to widen that up. And that was reviewed by the fire marshal.
That was a necessary improvement. I've only
Yes,
been in there a
yes.
couple of
Well, we
times.
didn't
That's
want to make it
rough.
look like a
The
road
driveway.
going in there, the driveway,
brutal.
so
Can you
we,
go back to the site plan? and
Yeah.
say-
So. There we go. So, so coming up and down, if you can see the width, which you can't see too well on here, but we widened this, the driveway coming up, to have a pull-off area, so a gravelled area, so it doesn't look like all asphalt coming up or pavement coming up. But to open up the existing driveway for fire access.
And that's the sole ingress and egress from the,
Correct. So we didn't want to make it look like a city road. So the fire marshal said that was acceptable. And then we put the signs out there, no parking. So I believe we meet the requirements.
so there's no vehicular traffic anywhere near the outdoor tables.
No, we do have,
It is-
we do have 2 tables by the old pool area. If you notice on the plan, they're right here. But they could easily be moved up here. But they thought it'd be nice to have a couple separated right there.
But there are no cars that drive in that.
No,
In that area.
Right.
Mr. Shepherd, your plan is showing a bituminous asphalt parking area, but I don't see any drainage.
We did not propose any drainage for this. So this area here is gonna be gravelled. The driveway that's there is gonna be left there. And, if it's required to do drainage, we'll put drainage in, but we have all this travel distance of farmland that it will just flow into.
And how many light poles are there currently on the property?
On the property, I don't think we have many.
And you're proposing 7?
Yeah, I think there's like none. So we got one right there, one right there. I think we got 3 in the parking lot area here. And I think we have one on the corner here. But again, it's gonna be still low lit. It's not highly lit. And maybe they'll use it a little, it's unlikely. They're gonna mostly have operations during the light time. But they're there for backup in case they need it. But they're not gonna be depended on.
Refresh my memory, please. How many patrons can be in the building?
I don't have that.
Minus the office space, just for patrons, it was 100. There was an additional 30 added for office space, working
Right.
employees, things like that. But for
The
just
tasting room.
patrons, just tasting room, it is 100. Thank you.
Just wanted to get back to the
Yeah, sorry.
the parking count again for a second. There's also 383-121.1H. It talks about parking requirements for the outdoor patron seating area. So that's another eight spaces per 1,000 square feet.
And that's what Attorney Porto and I actually spoke about today. Because this is an outdoor seating arrangement that isn't on a square patio, it's not on a 20 by 20 patio, that's where the discretion sort of comes into the commission members of how they would want to treat that per table. Because we don't have an exact square footage where all the tables are going to be fit
Right.
in. It's open grass area.
But given to the discussion that you guys had before, where there's so much more
They
parking.
exceed whatever requirement we have here, they exceed by quite a bit. It's popularity that is bringing them here where they need additional parking.
And I would
But
put
that's-
in, oh, go ahead.
No, that's clear, though. I mean, I don't know what the area is for the area of the ground where the outdoor seating is gonna be.
And it's
Square
subject, and it's subject to change,
But it's 8 spaces per 1,000 square feet, so I don't know how many.
Right, then it comes into what is your average, how many tables do you fit in 1,000 square feet at your average, food establishment?
Well, you probably have,
It's-
you probably have 3,000 or 4,000 square feet tops.
That's what I'm trying to, that's what I'm
of
getting.
table area.
Right.
So you're talking about 24 spaces, probably.
Right.
So it's still not anywhere near.
Right.
And the other way of looking at it is if you have 75 people there, not everybody's coming by themselves in a
Right.
car.
Right.
Right, and 100 potentially in the tasting rooms. That's 175 if everybody's there.
Okay.
Yep. And I would say this is something that all these farm business, ag businesses go through in the state of Connecticut. We've worked on, you know, Beardsley's Apple Orchard in Shelton, Jones Street Farm, you know, Pepperowski's farm up there in Newtown.
They were all in residential areas?
Yes. And
10 acres or more, or
yeah,
significant?
yeah. And we're, that whole thing about sizing it appropriate to the parking area of the use, in some cases, you know, like the apple orchard, it does a very good business in the fall, but all summer, all spring, it's dead up there, you know? So we have expanded some parking as need be. And I think the key here is, unlike some of the buildings that we do, if you have a church property or store, I'm limited to where I can park and stuff, you know? Here I have plenty of room to park. I think we put in excessive amount because we had concerns about the parking. So I think we're good with it.
Can we amend the map to show what the requirements are? Or what we've discussed?
So I think that's up to, what does the commission feel these outdoor tables require? Because again, our outdoor seating standards go by square footage. And we don't have necessarily square footage here because they're scattered tables in an open area.
I know, but there's still square footage of that open area. It's not the-
Or you can go by table.
Yeah,
Right.
you go by seats.
Going
It's a
by
normal
tables would be,
restaurant.
yeah.
Yeah, that would be the
more
way. We can
reasonable.
put a number on that.
Because the square footage that the tables cover now could be subject to change because they could just make them a little bit closer together.
All right, well,
or
I'd like to
further
see that
apart.
notation on the map, though.
Okay.
Parking tied to seating.
Right. I mean, it says, you know, the 72 spaces are provided, it doesn't say what's required. So what I'm getting at is, you know, what's required.
Mr. Shepherd, did the town engineer approve a site plan that doesn't have any drainage on it, that's going to sheet flow?
Yes, we did get the sign off from the town engineer. I would, you know, I think the intent there is because we have a farm area that's, you know, for the grapes and the rose, it's gonna be a gravel parking lot, will be painted, you know. That runoff's gonna be lesser amount, but I have room to control it on our own property. There's not gonna be any damage to anybody
I'm
else.
sorry, so the testimony is that only the driveway's being paved, sir?
I think part of the driveway is paved right now, the existing
Yeah.
driveway.
So all of this new parking is going to be on gravel?
Yes,
Gravel or grass, right?
yeah, it'll be, like a overflow parking area. If you take a look at some of the farm stands we have, it won't be any different.
Isn't it gravel now?
It's gravel right now, and I believe the last we spoke, it was going to be gravel with the additional parking
Yes.
spaces, correct?
Yeah.
Could you make that note on the plan, because it is not
Oh,
clear
it's
to
in
me?
the
Could've sworn we-
application.
It's
yeah.
in the
It's in the
application.
application.
but
Okay, I was gonna say, I could've sworn I
It's
saw.
definitely in the
yeah.
application.
Yeah, I think we put in an application, but we can do
How would
that.
you mark the spaces on that?
Well, we came up with an idea to plant curbs in the ground, so like concrete curbs in the ground to space them out. So they'll have a permanent marker where to mark them out, and then they'll paint in between. So, but at least they'll have, I think I did it every 3 spaces, put a concrete curb that they can plow over and stuff like that.
Is that methodology in the plan?
Yeah,
Okay.
There's also testimony that they have a parking attendant.
yeah, they have car parking guides, yeah.
So it won't be
A
willy-nilly.
free-for-all.
No. Not to start. Maybe after a few bottles.
Yeah. Not going, but leaving.
Yeah.
Joe, I have one question on the, there's a reference, this must be on page 5 of the application. where it says list sections of the Orange zoning regulations which the site plan does not comply with. And then it says something about regulations will be amended to comply. That didn't make sense to me. We're not considering in any application to amend the regulations. Right?
No, we're not. No, no, I think that's an error. There's no part, there's no part of the regulations that we do not comply with.
That's
In
what-
other words, we comply with all the regulations.
That's what I saw. So I
Yes.
wonder if we can get that out of the application.
I can submit a revised application that removes that, certainly.
Okay.
Attorney Porto?
Yes.
Oh, good. The existing regulation, as it was written, says that the events are going to be located entirely within the tasting room as shown on the approved site plan. Is it your testimony that the recent statutory change for allowing outdoor seating as of right it means that this regulation is not valid?
Okay, so I think construction of the regulation is subject to the commission's discretion and, their legislative capacity. I think it's anticipated that events will continue to be done inside. I do have the owner here, so I can ask her, and I'll get clarity on that. I have an opinion, but I'd rather have the owner tell us exactly how it's going to be used.
Thank you, sir.
Would you like me to do that right now, or is there another
It's
question?
your presentation. I shouldn't
Yeah, go ahead.
bother with the question until you're done.
Hi guys, my name is Alexa Charles. I'm one of the owners of Stepa Vineyard Winery. Okay, so question for the events being able to go outside. That was your question, right? So no, we're going to continue to do all of our decorating and things inside, including like live music. The only time it would be something outside is if it's a farm stand or something bringing in, but no music, no craziness outside. It's literally just going to be the same everyday business and just a
yoga.
little something. Huh?
Or yoga.
Or yoga, yeah. But there's no music. There's just peaceful. I don't think that bothered anybody.
Just wanted clarification.
And can you give us definitions of a special event? What are they to you?
So for me, a special event would be if I was selling tickets. So for Valentine's Day, we did a charcuterie building class, and that was something that we closed for, and we sold tickets for, so we knew exactly how many people were coming in. So for that, that's an event for me. It's something where we restrict how many people are coming in. We do a purchase ticket sales only, and do something special.
Would like a bridal shower be a special event, or?
I would consider it a special event, but unfortunately, we don't really do anything like that. We do reservations, so we do reserve an area that's for 20 to 40 people. We don't close for them. We don't ask what they're doing. We give them restrictions on if you do a reservation for us, you have to purchase a case of wine, so that way they are there for us, and there's a gratuity included. So we give them a space for 3 hours, like you would at any restaurant, and make a reservation, and you do what you please within that time, as long as you're within our restrictions, our regulations, no outside beverages. You're automatically allowed to bring food, so if they want to bring a food display, they're more than welcome to. But I would not consider a reservation an event.
And those events, those were all, based on your testimony, are going to be held inside?
Yeah, the only thing that we do outside is we set up chic picnics. And that's just something a little special that if people want to celebrate and get a picnic area designed for them. It's just something like a little niche that we offer that no other vineyard does.
The regulations require that they be inside.
Good.
Right, but that, what we do outside is not, I mean, it's not an event. It's just a normal picnic. It's just kind of glammed up a little bit. It's like glamping, but in a picnic version.
Okay. Any other questions for the applicant? No?
Thank you very much.
I
Okay.
just got one.
Yeah.
The gentleman with the engineer, you said that one of the reasons why you were widening the entryways for trucks coming in. Can you give us a sense of how many, the size, and the reason for trucks to come in?
Sure. When we took a look at the plan and did the as-built before, the entranceway down over here was for a little farm stand that we were talking about when we first went through. Now, when I took a look at it, I couldn't have a box truck, just a SU-30 truck, a delivery truck, fit in there properly and make the turn coming off the highway. So I figured that that was a good time to widen this up so we can get a small box truck. This is just a UPS truck, you know, which, you know, it's the way of the world now. It's something that, I gotta tell you, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, I didn't think about it much, but I'm thinking about it now on every job. So it's just the way of the world. But we're not having tractor trailer trucks and stuff like that. I just thought it was a good time for the use, that it would be appropriate to open that up so that we can get a box delivery truck, SU-30, small truck, without, you know, a nice sweep there. So that's all that is. Okay.
Or a fire truck.
What's that?
Or a fire truck.
Oh, yeah, fire truck, yeah.
Jack, we have all the department heads
Yes, sir.
sign off, right?
Yeah, we do.
Okay. Any other questions for the applicant? Joe, you have anything else?
I'm sorry, one last one, just for the benefit of the remote audience. Would you just state for the record that the illumination will be on no later than 8:30 to give people time to clean up after the 7 o'clock cutoff time and get out safely, or at night, sorry.
Yes, you can, we make that representation, and representation was made in the application, but we
Yeah.
will happily make it again this evening.
Just for the benefit of the audience.
100%.
Absolutely. So our closing hours are 7 p.m. and all lights are turned off by the last employee, which is either myself or my manager. So by 8:30, we assume that no lights would be on and the gate would be locked by then.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I have just some real quick thoughts, but I don't know if you want to ask if there's anybody from the public that wants to speak.
Well, I was
or-
going to go to that next, but if you want to finish up with your...
I'm happy to, right. So just in terms of the benefit of the record, Commissioner, we recognize that the events will be indoors. If it's concerned with regard to the neighbors, we are cognizant of that, right? So we want to be a good neighbor, so no, there will not be, you know, outdoor events outside. We, just in terms of the criteria for the outdoor use, all department heads have signed off. We talked about that. Outdoor seating does not obstruct any of the entries or exits, nor does it block any utilities, all clear walkways. The outdoor seating area will be kept clean and safe and sanitary. The outdoor area is protected from vehicular traffic. Chairman, you mentioned that. There's no traffic that flows through the outdoor area. The tables and umbrellas will be secured so that they don't move around or fly away. And the outdoor area is separated from the residential area. Mr. Shepherd talked about that. The the houses are over on this area, and our seating area is over here. There will be no food or drink preparation outside, that's in the plan. And we talked about the fact that we are overparked as is. So,
I may be in the regulation, but I just want to make sure there's no music outside either.
no. That is our presentation. Thank
Okay,
you. Thank you all.
Thank you very much. We have a number of emails that have been submitted. The ones that I read, most of them were in our packages.
Actually, I only provided you copies of them. Just all of them were in support. I just figured you would see them and we would read them at the
right.
the meeting rather than give everybody an additional 20 pages to read.
All right. Why don't we read those into the record at this point, and if you'll do that.
Buckle up, everybody. Absolutely. Yeah.
You really want to read them all into the record, Mr. Chairman? Can the record just reflect just like 18 letters in support?
It's all right with me, if it's all right with you, I guess. If it's all right with
That's
the
fine with me.
applicant.
If I think the commission and the applicant have to agree there.
I mean,
Ask for our neighbor that touches our properties letter. Or no, can we just know who they are? That way.
I'd be happy to read the names and addresses of everyone rather than. Okay, yeah. So the first one.
they're short.
They're short, all in support, so I'll just go by address and name. The first one is from our Economic Development Director, Anne Marie Slyby, 617 Orange Center Road. Second is Roberta DeCarli Secas of 298 Karen Drive. Louise Giamatti, 47 Allison Way, East Haven, Connecticut.
Giamatti, I think.
Giamatti. Sorry. Juliet Paisano, 35 Williamsburg Drive, Orange. Chuck Heifetz, 466 Cart Lane, Orange. Anthony and Donna Lindsley of 781 Riverside Drive. Betania Vega of 323 Orange Center Road. Carrie McDaniel, 727 Racebrook Road. Andrew Jorge, 602 East Slope Drive. Bill and Barbara Riker, 208 Highland Terrace. Laura Stenzi, 274 Wilson Road. Tamara Francis Brown, 316 Arnold Lane. Christina Joseph, 123 Party Manor. Charles G. Barone of 17 Pride Drive. Lauren Viscuso, 544 Wagon Trail. Dr. Namita Bawal, 596 Cedar Grove. Diane Villano, 20 Lakeside Drive. And Denise Darnell, 38 Lakeside Drive. And that was, I believe, 18 in total.
Are there any that are close to that parcel? Not the,
One that's not there.
One
was
that isn't.
submitted.
Excuse me, I need you to be on the record.
That was submitted. Let me see if it's in
there
here.
were-
I'm pretty sure
I don't
got it.
think there was any that I heard. There was a couple of streets that I wasn't familiar with, but none of this,
Abut.
of that abut are even close.
You could submit, if you have a copy of the letter, you can submit it now. Yeah, I'll take that. Thank you. This is from a neighbor at 415 Derby Avenue, which is, on which side? I think it's the left.
He's over here.
Okay.
And Williamsburg is a neighbor too.
Williamsburg, there was one on Williamsburg.
And so is Racebrook.
Just north.
That
Williamsburg
address
is
is
that road that-
one block down.
It's almost in Woodbridge, isn't it?
Yeah, it's on the line.
I'd appreciate reading the adjoining neighbors.
The adjoining neighbor, the full letter?
Yeah.
Sure.
Sorry, do you
No,
want me
there's
to
two.
continue staying, or can I go
No, you
back?
can go back.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, attention Jack Demergen. We are neighbors adjacent to Stop a Vineyard and have had the pleasure of watching them grow their business from the ground up over the last 9 years. They are rooted in family values and have put significant efforts, hard work, and vision into creating a beautiful space that enhances the neighborhood and community. We know there are challenges in building any business, and we hope they can continue executing their vision, especially in creating an outdoor space patrons can enjoy in any season. As direct neighbors to the vineyard, they have been respectful and managed everything with great detail and professionalism. We do not doubt that allowing them the outdoor seating they request will be well thought out and done with the community in mind. I appreciate your consideration, and we hope that you support businesses such as Stop a Vineyard, as they are outstanding members of our town and neighborhood that we see as necessary to the betterment of the area. Best, Tiffany and Jimmy Loomer, 415 Derby Avenue, Orange, Connecticut. So with that is 19 in total.
19, and you would characterize all of those as being in favor of the
All of them were in
application.
favor, yes, sir.
Is there anyone in the public who wishes to speak on this application live? Okay, no responses. All right. Does the commission have any further questions for the applicant?
Not for the applicant, no.
Okay. Do you think that we need more information to decide the application, or can we close the public hearing?
Well, you want the seating tied to, the parking tied to seating?
Well, that'll come up, I think, when we discuss, we'll reiterate that and make that a
So do
condition.
you need to keep it open for that? For
Do
the
we?
purposes of getting that information from the applicant?
No,
I don't believe so. I think you can make it as a condition of approval to provide amended parking language at the request of the commission.
all I'm looking for is a notation on the map indicating how the parking requirement, you know.
It was going to be
calculated.
for seating, but I don't remember what was the standard?
The standard for indoor is.
Was the 1,000 square
Yeah,
feet.
it's 1,000 per, 10
Right.
per 1,000 square feet.
An estimate for 8 per 1,000 square feet.
But Kevin mentioned something about for seating, individual seating?
The outdoor seating is where the discretion comes in, where do we want to do it by table? You know, per spaces might be
Right.
more appropriate here because we don't have a square footage with
But
open
it can
tables.
be measured, and the regulation talks about square footage.
If I could make a suggestion.
Yeah.
The building code typically stipulates so many square feet per occupant for a given usage. It's probably something on the order of 8 to 10 square feet.
Well, that's what our regulations say.
Well,
Well, our
No.
outdoor, let me just pull them up. Outdoor food establishment seating. Parking requirements for the outdoor patron seating area is 8 parking spaces per 1,000 square feet.
right, that's different from what I'm referring to. I'm saying if you have 70, seating for 75 people at 8 square feet per person, that's equivalent to 600 square feet of building.
Yeah, but those are much denser than, you know, I mean, you're a
True.
friendly guy, but I'm not getting 8 square feet next to you.
No, but the point is, that's kind of a standard.
Yeah.
We could back off on that.
That's how you calculate occupancy in a building, I think, right?
Well, it's along those lines, yes.
A lot of jurisdictions say 1 parking space per 2 seats in like a restaurant or bar as just a number. If you're trying to get to a calculable, practical number of what would be reasonable to support a business, you know, that's like, I mean, you know, I mean,
think it's reasonable.
Well, and that's about what we were saying before.
So we
If you
have
have a
75
couple of people per car, and you have
75 seats, so we
75
got 35 additional spaces,
Right.
right. Which,
seats, that's
they have.
37
They have.
people.
I don't doubt that they have.
We're just
enough
trying to figure out
parking.
the standard, right?
Yeah, I just
Right.
want to say, you know, this is what we have, this is what's required. And how do you calculate what's required?
I think we can also see the difficulty in trying to calculate it based on square footage, because, like in this case, they got a ton of square footage.
right.
So I think the more reasonable approach is what Kevin was saying is, you know, for each one parking space or something like that.
right, but Ozzy's saying that's not supported by
By the
text.
regulations.
But there aren't any for the outdoor.
Yes, there are. Yes, there are.
For
It's
outdoor?
tied to square footage, but it
Well, you mean-
contemplates a
It's difficult to
patio.
apply to this
Oh, I see what
application,
you're
which is
saying.
kind of where our discretion
You've
kicks in
shown-
here.
You've shown the tables and chairs. How many square feet do those tables and chairs cover?
But Oz, you could take those 21
Remove them.
tables and put them
Right,
all
and-
over
and-
10 acres.
But they're not, though.
But they could be.
Right.
I know,
Right.
but theoretically, this is the plan, right?
But our other
You're gonna put
outdoor
'em-
dining is on a pad,
I know, but
so it's easy to
So we're
calculate
gonna-
square footage.
I know, and it's not so hard to just calculate square footage here either. We know where the tables are.
If we have them, create not a regulation, but if we have them say that they're going to be within 50 feet or 60 feet of the, in other words, we have them tell them where the tables are going to be, then I agree with you.
They are telling us where the tables are gonna be.
How so?
By
Well,
this
it's a
plan.
rendering, that's not, it's set in
No,
concrete.
this is the site plan now, but whatever they do in accordance with this plan.
They don't do that with houses.
But the notation says that they're gonna be randomly placed, and
Assorted.
that I don't think it's saying that
Well-
that will be the exact location.
Well, my expectation is that that's pretty much they're not gonna put one, 500 feet to the north.
Is the hearing still open?
Yes.
Yeah, I would, Mr. Chairman, I would say that you're correct, but Commissioner, I think you're correct as well. This is not an as-built, so this is not we're not gonna geolocate those circles
No, I-
and not move a table a couple feet left or right from that. I don't want there to be,
But we can get an approximation of how many square feet are in that general area right there.
I think you can do that. Our engineer is saying that per seat may be the wiser alternative. Per patron may be the wise, yeah. I think parking tied to the number of seats, as the commissioner was indicating, may be the wiser way to proceed under this set of circumstances.
Fine, I'm just trying to create a record of how we made a decision that there was enough parking. I mean, we all say there's enough parking, but how did we get to that decision?
Right.
And it's not on the plan.
Right.
Right, so are we tied to what you said before, to the square footage on the outside? Or you said there was open to discretion. Is there part of
I
that?
think
That
for this
statute?
particular application, our discretion does kick in a little bit because this unit of 1,000 square feet is not really applicable here. Let's say they do cover an amount of space that, for some reason, they wouldn't meet their parking requirements. All they gotta do is condense those tables a little bit, and suddenly their requirement is a lot less, because they're not as far apart, covering less square footage. So it's,
But that's what the regulation says. I'm sorry to.
Right,
No,
but
it
the
does.
regulation doesn't
Right.
contemplate tables in a field.
I understand.
But
I understand. But show me the regulation that gives us what the calculation is.
If I could
Yeah.
add some,
Go ahead.
just discussion to this. When we do outdoor wedding spots, and, the applicants have done this before with wedding spots, and the patron area where it's roped off, where you can't go outside of, we can do that square footage area. But when we go to farm type of entities, whether it's wineries and other spots, or Christmas trees, or, orchards, it's because of the flexibility of the area. If you go by the seats, you're pretty locked in. So the number of seats, and it's up to the board what you want to do. You can do, a norm is 4 seats, 1 parking spot for these kind of things, because you normally go together with a group, right? If you want to go down to 2, we're covered for 2, too. So if you say, for every 2 seats, you have to have 1 car, maybe somewhere in the middle, it's between 4 and 2, I think you're pretty covered, So it's up to the board what you want to do, but you got to think of the events that happen. Generally, you're going to have 2 people in a car. Most time you have couples, and that could be 4, so it's going to be 4 or 3 in that range. But if you do that per seats, then you don't have to worry about counting. You make it easier for your zone enforcement officers that they're not running around chasing seats and where they put them on the tables and
All
stuff.
right, let's-
Has the ability to count that high.
I wouldn't be too sure.
That's just my input.
let's-
It's up to you guys.
But my question is, what you were saying, are we locked into outdoor, is there a regulation that says not discretionary, it's,
Well, Jack read the
No.
language.
right, that is the language, and Ozzy is right on that, where we would be setting a precedent. If we decide to treat this outdoor seating arrangement, parking requirement by number of seats. We do not have language that would support
That-
going by seats.
right.
So Ozzy, would you feel better if we got them to state on the record the square footage of the area that they are gonna contemplate
Right,
putting
that it
their
would be-
tables, and we will call that the square footage of the outdoor dining?
Yes.
And that's what it has to be.
But that's what I've been saying. that's what the regulation says.
Right.
And it's somewhere around 10,000 square
And-
feet.
Right.
I think it's a lot more than that, actually. It's a 60 scale plan.
I don't know.
It's like 2 by 3 and change. It's like 24,000 square feet, if my math is correct.
So how many, so what do we, what's
Well, I
the,
think,
it's
I
eight
think
per
we need them
thousand.
to
Yeah, that-
tell us on the record what the
Right.
square
It's a big number.
footage of the outdoor dining area will be, period.
Yes. We have to get some calculation as to where the table's gonna be.
all right, well, that's fine. I mean, that's what I was
And then we'll
getting
be
to.
consistent with our regulation.
It might require some condensing of the tables as shown here, but, you know, that's not the end of the world, and, you know, if the table shifts a couple feet, I don't think it's something
I
that.
can, and you know, the thing is, it's not arbitrary to want that on our part, because,
Every other outdoor dining
Mm-hmm.
approval we've done has had it.
well, that, but, you know, what you're worried about more than anything is,
Consistency going forward.
you know, some mishap with a vehicular mishap. You know, and so you don't want people spread out all over where a driver might not, you know, in one of those parking areas might not expect. You know, turns around on the grass and hits a table or whatever, I don't know.
So to make the numbers work, just out of curiosity, okay? If they were to describe an area, a rectangular area on the plan of, just pick a number, call it 10,000 square feet. No, that'd be 80 spaces, that's too many. Yeah, that's too many, because that's gonna be 80.
Right.
So you pick some number that number of tables could fit into, and you call that the mid.
Right.
Okay, and then have another more amorphous area that allows those tables to migrate. Does that, then we have our, but not change in number,
Right. Yeah, so they can put it anywhere within that.
the secondary area.
Again, the number of tables and chairs, that's in the site plan application.
Number of tables.
I agree with you there.
They've indicated,
Yeah.
specifically, tables of 5, 4.
Discussion about location.
Yeah, I mean, we're trying to delineate a location. I think that's, what we're trying to do is demonstrate that they comply with the parking requirements. And I think a box can be drawn around those tables as they're situated, and that has a square footage. And there's so many spaces per 1,000, every 1,000 square feet. Isn't that what the regulation said?
Right. 8 per 1,000 square feet, and I think if we are gonna hold that language, which I do agree with you that we should stick to what the language that we do have.
Yeah.
I think those tables are going to shift a lot closer together to obviously get that, right. Because you'd probably be at what, 20,000 square feet shown right there, and that's 8 times 20, they don't, that's an
Right.
unreasonable amount of parking. So I think the tables are gonna have to be shown.
I mean, I know this is all an academic exercise,
Right.
because the tables are gonna move from time to time.
But you're saying on the approved site plan, they should have a home that
When-
corresponds with the
When we approve a site
language.
plan, in the, there's the line for parking, we show, parking provided, parking required. Just like the side yard setback, so many feet.
Right.
What's provided and what's required by the regulations. What's required by the regulations is not shown here on this site plan, and we gotta show it somehow. And I don't know that we can invent a regulation that demonstrates compliance.
I don't think we have to. I think that what we just talked about is
Well,
eminently
Tom
reasonable.
seemed to
and-
think that might not be possible, though, mathematically, right?
Well, you'll never get the parking to work
Well, but you,
using
this
that
design,
calculation.
Right, and they'd have to shrink.
You'd have to
Right.
shrink it way down.
or
Way
you
down.
could give them a variance based on the actual intensity of the use that's going to occur in that square footage.
Well, when
We
you say
can't give a
variance, I mean, you
variance.
exercise our
And
Not a
discretion.
variance, yeah, I mean, what is our parking, what,
We have the right, I don't recall the section, but we have the right to require something less than
Right.
what's required in our discretion.
Right.
As long as they're shown to be
Adequate.
available.
Right.
if they should need it.
at some point in the
Right.
future if they should need it. And that's important for like Home Depot, where they have, you know,
Deferred.
monumentally more parking than they
Than
need.
they'll ever need.
Right.
That's probably a bad example, but that's what it's about. Well, then we probably want to hold the hearing open
Makes sense.
and see if we can solve that problem in some fashion. I mean, it's not a, to me, Joe, do you think you can, where are you?
Yes, I understand. I understand, and I can talk with Jack and Alan and I can get together and, you know, the first thing that comes to mind is we draw a box around the area that's presently designated for outdoor seating, and it's gonna pull those tables together somewhat, and we could do it that way, okay? And we could put the parking table on there, the parking calculator, in the manner in which you've just described.
Right.
There's still going to be way more room outside than there is inside.
But, you know, the reality is some of those tables may migrate a little bit outside that box, and if it's gonna become an enforcement issue, I'd rather avoid that.
Everything's an enforcement issue. You know, I mean, you know, it's not.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, I,
Would the applicant contemplate a fenced-in area for the tables, like all the other restaurants do?
I think the problem is it starts to interfere with the rural character of it, you know, it's really nice up there the way it is. I mean, I think this would be for the site plan purposes only, right? To show, in order to calculate the parking, the manner in which you're describing.
Yes, I mean, someday, 20 years from now, somebody may look at this plan and say, how in the world did that commission figure out there was supposed to be that many spaces? I don't see it, you know, in reading the regulations, so. That's the only question I'm trying to answer.
I think establishing that box, if the applicant were to go back, establish the area, that for the purposes of this approval, we could apply these regulations based on the square footage and come up with a number and use that for review of this application and come to a decision. Like you said, Oz, everything's an enforcement issue. If these tables were to migrate somewhere that might be slightly outside of that box or in a different open area, you know, then we handle it as it comes. But as long as the number of tables doesn't increase, the number of seats doesn't increase than what's indicated here, I don't think it would be a huge problem. Of course,
Yeah, I
unless
mean,
they're relocating
listen,
tables
the
on property.
regulations are like that. I mean, you know, in outdoor seating, you're not allowed to be standing in the outdoor seating area.
Right.
You're gonna be seated at a table. So how do you enforce that?
Well, this is kind of a hybrid. This is a
I mean, it's a
commercial
little
business
different. A lot
in a
of these
residential
just-
area.
Okay.
It's going to take care of it. It's going to take care of itself. I mean,
Yeah.
these people have food, and they're going to be wanting to go back and forth, and you know, to the main building from time to time, I imagine. I can't imagine it
Am I
being.
making too much of this, or?
No, I think, but you're setting a framework that works within our regulation. I think that's smart.
Otherwise, I have no problem with the application. I mean, there's
Thank you.
nothing else. I think, you know, there was the pergola, and it's decorative. It's not, you know, it's not anything that requires us to be concerned that it's part of the operation.
Correct.
It does not have a roof, correct?
It's,
Is it covered?
Oh.
Is
it has a roof so that when they're making wine, that they're not getting poured on, which already happened. So they want to avoid that again.
Does it
Yeah.
have drains, roof drains?
It's,
It's
Roof-
open.
I don't think it has roof drains.
Let's see what that looks like.
yeah, it's not like an actual structure, it's just a tarp, like a tent tarp just to cover over us. That way during like harvest season, we can crush and we can actually do the whole process outside and not get poured on.
Will
like
it come
last year.
down in the winter if it's a tent?
In the winter, yeah, we'll have to roll down in the winter.
What I started to say was, I have no problem with the pergola. The changes to the access road, I'm sure the fire marshal is thrilled about those. And I obviously have no problem with that. The what else did we have here?
Uh,
Parking.
Yep.
And there's the one issue that, that I just trying to find a solution to that issue. But I think that, that doesn't present the location of the parking and, the character of the parking. I see no problem with that. There was a fourth item.
Let me check my notes.
Driveway lighting,
Yeah. Do any of the other farm stands have 7 light poles?
like Sunflower Farm, like Shamrock, no, not to my knowledge.
Yeah, so
I think that was it.
what we had is the improved intersection to the driveway, absolutely no parking, we got the no parking sign, right? You know, so we're cleaning that issue up. The new parking that we talked about, the light poles we talked about, the 21 tables, and for the benefit of the record,
Oh, and the tables, yeah.
We are
The
committing to
outdoor-
that.
The outdoor dining, yeah.
yeah, we are committing
So-
to that. It's 21 tables in the manner that I described. Location is the open issue, but, it's gonna be generally as shown, but it's not gonna be more.
So of the 4 items, the parking to me is the only thing that I'm looking for a little comfort by way of a notation on the site plan.
Yep.
It demonstrates compliance. I don't know if anybody else has anything else that they're concerned about.
So, this is becoming bigger than I certainly anticipated, through no fault of our own, with the open air seating, the outdoor seating. Are there any parameters at all on the outdoor seating? I mean, this is 10 acres.
Parameters is in location
Maximum.
or maximum?
Mhm.
I believe that there is. I believe it is not supposed to exceed 10% of their, let's see, sorry.
Sounds right.
The total number of patrons in the outdoor seating area shall not exceed 10% of the maximum capacity for any food establishment.
Well, is the tasting room the food establishment?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm not sure I read it just that way, though. We have a food establishment permit, but we're not a food establishment.
Food establishment, you have to be a food establishment to have outdoor seating as of right.
So, okay, this creates an interesting conundrum then. So then we're suggesting that we're down to having outdoor seating. If we have 100 people indoors, we could have 10 people outside, if I did my math right.
That's what the regulation is reading.
That's what I said, this is kind of a hybrid. All our other outdoor dining areas are tied to an existing restaurant.
Understood, but, obviously we have 10 acres, so, I mean,
Right.
we could have, 10 people, they could run around and never hit each other. I mean, I think that's,
Well, I mean, the other thing that we're all very sensitive to, and I almost want to ask everyone, if this was the original proposal with the outdoor seating, the tasting room, what would you have done?
I wouldn't have done it.
Okay.
And I'll tell you exactly why. Because it's a residential area.
Yeah.
We were very sensitive to larger parties. The way they bifurcated it out, I don't think I have an objection to. I think it's well thought out. But the reality is that I have 175 people, 300 cars is by my math. Obviously they can't all come together. But this is larger than I had envisioned. Not quite double, but almost, because of the outdoor seating, right? The outdoor seating is another 21 tables, 70, I don't know how many, you said 75 people, I think. it was.
70 something, yeah.
Right, with the indoor seating being 100, which was, along the lines of the farm stand, and we were trying to be accommodating to this kind of an operation in a residential area. So while I do, I don't think I have any discretion with regard to the outdoor seating, do they need a relief from the zoning? I mean, the regulation is the regulation. My question is, do they need relief from it that I don't know if we can give? Or is it a zoning
ZBA.
ZBA issue? I don't know. But I thought there was some kind of a delineation.
You're talking about the parking requirement?
No.
Or you're
No,
just
no,
talking about the
minimum
10%?
number of patrons.
Number of patrons.
Yeah.
Yeah, the parking requirement, I think you have a framework we're gonna get to, and I have no problem with it.
And isn't this more of a discussion after the hearing's closed?
Okay.
After the what?
Don't you?
I was prepared to wait till after the hearing is closed, but then it
Oh,
didn't
yeah.
close.
Oh, okay. No, I didn't know. I mean, I'm happy to discuss things whenever, but I
Right.
thought,
Okay, I'll
I
wait till
thought
it's
the
closed.
procedure was,
Okay, you know what, can we continue this?
yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, because
no,
we got,
no, I'm
we got,
fine.
You have an issue that you can try to resolve on the parking.
yeah, that's not the issue I'm worried about.
Yeah, no.
Thanks, Paul. So, yeah, we got,
We were gonna get there.
Yeah, I
Good
thought
enough.
We
all right.
are a little boxed in on, as far as our regulations are concerned.
For this is the only
One thing we have to work
This is
with.
the only, place that would really have an issue with this kind of parameter because a lot of them are difficult to apply to a 10-acre open space food establishment.
Well, but it's not, why don't we, I guess we should wait till after the hearing closes to discuss it. But the regulation is tied into the number of people in the food establishment. So whether it's 10 acres or 100.
Well,
one.
the occupancy.
Yeah, yeah.
Right. And, I mean, when we approved this and wrote the regulations, we
Mhm.
didn't anticipate expanding outdoor dining.
Not even the clue.
That was pre-COVID, that was now,
This was a
Outdoor
tough
dining is
negotiated,
a
they came in
use-
with 3 beautiful applications that were all more intense than I'm paraphrasing here, than the board at each of those times was willing to grant based upon the size and scope of those plans.
Yep.
And they came up with another beautiful plan that was smaller in scope, that was something that I, could live with.
Well, I would note, one neighbor submitted a letter in support, and nobody came and spoke in opposition,
No,
so.
It's true.
I mean, I do think, Attorney Kaplan, that you might not have been inclined to grant it at the time that it was initially presented, but, if the concern is that there's sensitivity to neighbors, I think the fact that nobody's here speaking in opposition to this explains that we're sensitive to our neighbors.
I think I think at the initial time, there was plenty of opposition, they scaled it down, and they've been very good neighbors. I have no problem with any of that, obviously by virtue of the fact that no one said anything.
Right.
Okay? No one says anything when it's, I have no problem with their presentation. I have a problem with the regulation.
Well, the regulation is problematic because this is in a residential zone. So in your own home, you could have how many people put down blankets in your backyard and sit in it?
not every night.
And it's not a food establishment.
Well, okay, but I hear, the point is that I think that number, that's tied to a bar that has a patio,
Yeah.
that is going, or a restaurant that wants to put some tables on the sidewalk. I think that's what was contemplated by that regulation.
Maybe, I don't know. With the regulation that I heard, that I didn't know exactly in my head, but I knew there was some kind of a cap, was tied into the maximum occupancy of the food establishment.
Okay, well, we understood, so I don't want to keep you all night. We understand the
We'll
issues.
keep it
and-
open, we'll come
Yeah,
back and.
Yep,
Yeah,
talk some more.
okay.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
I'm going to leave this here. Can I leave this here? Is that okay?
Sure, yeah.
All right, yeah, no point in,
No, they'll come back and they'll think as to what we can do.
yeah.
I don't think that we have discretion in that regulation.
Right, no, it's similar to the parking number. We have language for it that might be difficult to apply and in our heads doesn't really make a whole lot of sense.
Right.
The words are there.
What's the language of the statute in reference to as of right?
Right. the
Are
state law
there
that passed.
limitations in that?
I would have to,
Yeah,
Look at
because
that.
if that doesn't have limitations, then the state statute might supersede the local.
Yep.
It's a good point, Joe.
The state statute does not have any restriction on parking.
No, I'm sorry, boss,
Yeah,
I
you're
was,
Talking about.
He's
the
talking about-
The occupancy.
I was, yeah, so when the state statute allowed outdoor dining as of right for food establishments, I was wondering, the issue we're having is related to, is there a cap on how much outdoor seating you can
Right,
have?
right. I said parking. That's not what I meant. There's no limitation in the state statute as it relates to outdoor dining that I know, that I saw, and I have the statute here. Jennifer, is there any limitation on that?
There's not, Joe.
No. So we could put that in the record next time.
Okay. What were you reading from?
This is our regulation, so our outdoor food establishment regulation is that 10% number of the.
And if there's no, okay, so the state statute would supersede our,
Well, we,
Well, or
It
That's
might-
what Kevin's suggesting
I don't know
may
if
be
it
the case.
supersedes it, it might just leave it up to our regulations. It might say, regardless of the municipal regulation.
Check
It-
the
it-
video.
we should double check.
yeah,
Yeah,
check with Vinnie.
absolutely.
My head's starting to hurt already.
Yep, understood.
Thanks again.
Good.
All right,
Thank
thank
you.
you. All right, that concludes our agenda for this
Move to
evening.
adjourn.
We have a motion to adjourn,
Second.
seconded by Commissioner Tarenti. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.